Case reviews are something we've been doing a lot here on the channel, and if you're a fan of InWin's products, you'll know that they make high quality components that blend functionality and art. Today, we've got something sleek, stylish, and simple to talk about, the brand new InWin D5. A case that not only cradles your components nicely, but also brings a whole new level of innovation to your build. Curious? You should be. So grab your favorite snack, get comfy, and join us as we dive into one of InWin's newest PC cases. The InWin D5 is a mid-tower chassis designed to accommodate up to eATX motherboards, including the latest back connector ones. The D5's perforated front panel is engineered to maximize airflow, and the rotatable PCIe slot bracket gives you the option of vertical GPU mounting. The case only comes in one variation, and it's black, with a tempered glass side for an MSRP of $119 US. For that price, you get a fine mesh front, a tempered glass side panel, one 120mm ARGB exhaust fan, and a flip-out headphone holder. Now, I've already finished my build, and visually I think it turned out great. What I'm sure you're all interested in is my overall opinion of the D5. So we'll do our usual thing. I'll give you a complete walk around of the case, give you my build notes with both positives and negatives, and I'll even throw in a little bit of temperature testing too. Nothing scientific, of course, but I do what I can. Let's take a look. I always start my walkarounds on the view window side because that's usually where everyone looks. Removing the side glass is very easy. It has one tab to pull outwards on, quick release snaps to let the panel go, and you just lift it away. Inside the case, you've got 3 cable pass-throughs across the top, 2 beveled ones along the side, and 3 cutouts along the bottom. The power supply shroud has a few textured hexagon cutouts, which add some nice design flair. Not sure what all the threaded holes on top of the shroud are for, but other than the hexagons, it's not ventilated. My guess is they're for mounting a vertical GPU bracket. The back has 7 reinstallable PCI slot covers in addition to a rear fan. One of the D5's secrets is the PCI mount bracket can be completely removed using 4 screws and turn 90 degrees for vertical GPU mounting. This means all you need to vertically mount your GPU is a riser cable and not an entire kit. Real quick, I do want to note that the case comes with this cool little GPU sag holder. It's adjustable and magnetic, and it has a rubber pad on top. So you can turn the thumb screw, set it to your GPU height, and it sticks down right on the power supply shroud of the case to hold up your GPU. Nice little feature. I didn't need to use it because I'm using a smaller GPU, but it's cool that they included that. The D5 comes with a 120mm addressable RGB fan with very short daisy chainable cables. The rear fan mount only fits a 120, so I suggest you go with it. They include both PWM and ARGB cable extensions in case you don't add in top-mounted fans to connect the rear fan to. This is the PWM cable that's included in the accessory bag. It's a nice little vinyl bag here for you with all of your accessories, but they include PWM and ARGB cables. It's about a 12-inch cable, in case you're wondering, to add on to your fan in the back in case you need to reach your motherboard on the opposite side of the case. Nice that they include that. The maximum CPU air cooler height able to fit into the D5 is 165mm if you're thinking of taking that route. GPU clearance is 365mm. On the motherboard tray, there's a plastic shroud to direct airflow from the front fans onto the components. It's held in by 2 lock tabs and 2 screws. Be careful when attempting to remove it because it's kind of fragile. I broke one of the tabs on mine. The front of the case is very simple, with a removable mesh panel that has almost no way to get your fingers under it to pop it off. I ended up using the swing-out headphone holder for removal. Oh, that's another cool little feature of the D5. There's a hidden flip-out headphone hanger at the top of the front panel that hides away nicely when not needed. Behind the front panel, you've got room for 3 120 or 140mm fan mounting, as well as clearance for up to a 280 or 360mm liquid cooler. The cable management side has a lot going on. The rear panel removes the exact same way as the front glass. There's a small tab sticking out of the rear. You just push outwards on it and lift the panel away. On the left side of the cable management tray, you've got pass-throughs for your front fans or AIO. There's plenty of tie-down points following the front I/O cables next to the side pass-throughs. There's a large motherboard access window once you remove the mount plate using the captive thumb screw. There's room for one 3.5-inch hard drive or two 2.5-inch SSDs. In the bottom, you've got a hard drive cage with space for up to two 3.5-inch or 2.5-inch drives. This is not removable, by the way. One side of it has screws and the other side has rivets. This allows for space for up to a 180mm power supply. There is also a removable dust filter that covers the entire bottom of the case. InWin added a nice touch by allowing the dust filter to be removed from the side of the case rather than the back or the front, so you don't have to move your PC if you want to clean it. The filter is made out of a vinyl mesh, and it slides back in just as easy. Up top, I/O is very simple with a power button that lights up white and doubles as your hard drive status indicator, two USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports, a combo headphone and microphone jack, and one USB 3.2 Gen 2x2 Type-C port. There's also a magnetic dust filter covering the top hexagon-shaped ventilation. Up here, you can fit the same cooling options as the front, three 120 or 140mm fans, and up to a 280 or 360mm liquid cooler. If today's video has helped you out in any way so far, do me a favor and click that like button to share it with others that may need that same help too. Now let's move on to my build notes, and I'll give you my positives and negatives with the case. I like to begin on a high note, so I start with the positives, but there's way more of those anyway. The build process in the D5 was very easy. So whether you're an experienced builder or it's your first time, the D5 will suit your needs with plenty of space for components and a large cable management area. The second thing I really liked is InWin addressed many of the details that are commonly overlooked by other PC manufacturers. Things like lockable 5-volt addressable RGB connectors are included with this case. You can see on the connector here, it has a lock tab on one side and a little beveled edge on the other. So all you have to do is press in on your ARGB connector and it will lock down onto the other side. And then to release, you just press down on your release tab, pull apart, and you're good to go. A common problem with 5-volt addressable RGB connectors in most cases is they will fall out when you plug them in. There's nothing worse than connecting all your RGB and finding out that one of your fans got unplugged in the process of cable management. Be careful, as the connectors have recessed holes, so normal ARGB connectors won't work. They'll just fall out. Another feature that I really like, and this is more specific to InWin as a company, not just the D5, is that their RGB and fan headers are daisy chainable. So the rear fan that's included on this one has a PWM connector that is daisy chainable, which means you could plug in one connector to it, and then it has a pigtail that comes off of it, so you can plug in another fan, and another, as much as you want. And the RGB connectors work the exact same way. I did it in my case here. This rear fan is connected to all three fans on the AIO, and then connected onto my motherboard. The three fans in the front are connected to a separate RGB header. I didn't want to have to daisy chain all of them together. They might not turn on. Now, I'm not sure if this was intentional, but the curved cable management tray at the top makes threading zip ties through the mounting points effortless. I can't tell you how many times I've had to fight, curve, and loop these things to get them on. The plastic air director thingy is really neat. That's an official term, by the way. Even though I broke a tab on mine trying to get it off, I don't know if you have to remove it when building, but it definitely made it easier for me. Whether it functionally does anything, I have no idea. But between my basic CPU and GPU temperature testing and having the shroud installed and removed, there was no difference. Another feature that I really liked about the D5 is the hidden headphone hanger on the front of the case. Some may say that it's a gimmick, but others think it's a must-have because of limited desk space. The last positive note is the case's motherboard support for the new rear-mounted connectors. Motherboards like MSI's Project Zero and ASUS's BTF. I don't have either of these boards, but I did try to flex the motherboard tray because of all the missing material to allow the connector pass-through. There was no loss in the strength of the motherboard tray. Very impressive. What do you think about the features of the D5? Are they all gimmicky to you, or are these must-haves? Let me know down in the comments. Now, of course, no case is perfect, and there are a few negatives, so let's cover them now. The D5's whole surface is textured metal, and it shows every little mark. My fingers left skin streaks every time I touched it. After my whole time working with the case, doing the build, filming the B-roll, and testing, I finally solved the issue. Swiffer dusters. They glide across the surface of the case and remove any marks left by hands or fingers. So if you go with the D5, invest in one of these. You'll thank me later. Another issue with the D5 is there's not enough support for the rear panel. The bottom feet have a ridge on the top to hold the glass and rear cable management panels in place, but the back panel rattles after it's installed. Not sure if this was just a problem with my case, but I thought it was worth pointing out if you move your PC a lot or have a wobbly desk. I was also surprised by the fact that there are no cable tie-down points along the right side or the bottom of the cable management area. I thought there was plenty along the left side and the top, but the rest was lacking. I did figure out how to make it work though. For the $119 price tag, I think it should include more fans. I'd like to see 3 on the front and leave the rear exhaust alone. I get it, fans usually come in packs of 3, and it makes more sense to pick up 1 pack of fans to complete your look. But for those that don't want to buy any extra fans for the D5, you're stuck with 1. Temperature testing with this setup was difficult. I initially went with the InWin MR36 for CPU cooling to accent the design and tie the whole build together, but I wasn't happy with the temperatures during my Cinebench R23 run. When I perform temperature testing, it's nothing scientific like I said, it's very simple. I just run Cinebench R23 for the CPU and I do Unigine Heaven for the GPU, just to stress each component, create a little bit of heat in the case, and see what my temperatures show up as. Obviously, I had the side glass on when I did my testing. The CPU in this build is a Ryzen 5 5800X3D, and for the GPU, an Intel A770. With the MR36, I saw a max temp of 90 degrees Celsius on the CPU during Cinebench testing, but with the air cooler, I only got up to 75. I guess the MR36 just can't handle the 5800X3D. At least it looks good. Both cooling solutions allowed the GPU to see the same average temperatures of 76°C. Running Unigine Heaven with the MR36, the CPU averaged 55°C, while air cooling got up to 60. This is most likely due to more heat inside the case, and there were 3 less fans pulling air out. This part relies heavily on the components and the cooling solutions used, so I didn't want to get too much into it. Overall, airflow for the D5 had no issues, and it provides good setup flexibility. Here we are, the end at last. So how is InWin's mid-tower D5 for $119? There were some nice details that you don't get on other cases in this price range, like locking ARGB connectors and a side slide bottom dust filter. Oh, and don't forget the new rear connector motherboard support. Now, the styling isn't anything groundbreaking, and the lack of more than 1 fan upsets me. But the D5 still offers a quality case that was easy to build in and won't break the bank. Thanks for coming by and checking out my review. And if you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to click that subscribe button down below and hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when we release more PC related content, because you won't want to miss all the cool stuff I'll be looking at this year. As I always say, I'm Danny with Danny's Tech Channel, and I'll see you in the next one. 'Cause we're like alpha and omega. Whatever happens doesn't matter.